Cross the 97, step forward one at a time, and meet the First Lady of Texas A&M.
Howdy, Fish Wars, my name Ma'am.
Woodward, I'm Reveille.
Glad to meet you, Miss Reveille, ma'am. I'm from Dallas, Texas A&M Business Administration, ma'am.
I'm from Caulfield, beating the hell out of LSU.
Glad to meet you, Miss Reveille, ma'am. Howdy, Fish Sullivan, my name, ma'am.
Sullivan, Reveille's my name.
Glad to meet you, Miss Reveille, ma'am. Houston, Texas, taking biomedical science, ma'am. Glad to meet you, Miss Reveille, ma'am.
Well, another year begins, and these scared young men are some of the new freshmen. They're the fish of Company E2, my closest friends, and part of my Aggie family. I wonder if the fish are getting younger, or maybe I'm just getting older. Beside me in boots are the seniors, but it seems just yesterday they were standing here like this, introducing themselves to Miss Reveille, ma'am, for the first time. It was about 9 years ago, on an average day, that Mom told me some people were coming to look me over. Oh, I could feel her excitement as she licked and groomed me to perfection. And thus began a story that would change my life forever. Okay, pups, the people that are coming are called Aggies, and they're coming to see if one of you might be capable of becoming their new mascot.
Mom, what's an Aggie, and what's a mascot?
An Aggie is what they call the students who attend Texas A&M University, the finest place in the world to go to school. It's really a huge place, over 5,000 acres on the main campus in College Station, where more than 43,000 men and women from every state in the United States and 100 foreign countries take courses in 10 different colleges. Our own doctor, the one who gave you all your shots, attended A&M, which boasts a world-class school of veterinary medicine. And they even have a school of medicine for humans, too. The thing, however, that sets A&M apart is not just what they teach in class, but is what happens to people that go to school there. Apparently, they develop a feeling about their school and each other that's unique to A&M. It's called Aggie spirits, and it's not only contagious, but can be passed on to their children and grandchildren. That is where the mascot comes in. You see, a mascot's a visual symbol of pride humans feel about their school. Most mascots are scary, fierce creatures that are supposed to intimidate other schools. Things like lions, tigers, and bears, and sometimes they're just your ordinary run-of-the-mill. But for many years after A&M was founded back in 1876, they didn't have a mascot at all. You see, from the beginning, A&M, which stands for Agricultural and Mechanical College, was also a military school. A&M men fought in the Spanish-American War, and in World War I, 55 Aggies made the ultimate sacrifice, which is why 55 oak trees stand as memorials around an old drill field on campus, and why 55 flags wave above Kyle Field, their football stadium. Being military was simple enough for A&M. Their pride was self-evident and was demonstrated by their discipline and patriotism, and nothing would have changed except for a fateful accident in 1931. That is where the story of Reveille really begins, and where my life took a turn that led me here. It seems one night a car full of Aggies was returning to campus, and a stray dog of unknown origin wandered into the path of the vehicle near Navasota. The dog was not severely injured, but one of the students suggested taking her on to A&M with them to make sure she was okay. She was successfully smuggled into the dorm, but the next morning when the bugler sounded Reveille, that pup howled and carried on so much that her new caretakers immediately dubbed her Reveille. And the handle just stuck, and so did the dog. She made herself at home, and pretty soon had the run of the campus. She was the only female with that privilege, since A&M was an all-male institution until 1963. She was everybody's buddy, traveling from one dorm to another. As a music lover, she spent much of her time with the band. Eventually, however, she found the attention and companionship in the dorm of A quartermaster the most agreeable. So ever since A Quartermaster, now known as E2, has had the responsibility and honor of caring for Reveille, that is where I live. And these are the young men and women that share their home with me, while I try to watch over 43,000 other students. So the school that had no mascot adopted the perfect one, man's best friend. The symbol of faithfulness, loyalty, devotion, and bravery was perfectly suited to the school that already stood for those same qualities. Reveille 1, being the first, got to write her own job description, which was certainly not as formal or regimented as it is today. But then each of us since Reveille 1 have taken a hand in adding responsibilities and duties. Reveille 1 led a military life, so naturally her job was related to the years of tradition for which A&M is still famous. Many Aggie traditions today stem from military years, some relating to humorous incidents and pranks. Others take on the serious aspect of living memorials. It was during the time of Reveille 1 that World War II engulfed America in a struggle to preserve freedom. The Aggies gained national attention as they distinguished themselves in battle, and they won the admiration of the nation. When under the worst conditions, they took a moment to observe one of the most sacred and poignant of all Aggie traditions, the Aggie muster. April 21st has been the day Aggies set aside to meet and share cherished memories of their school and their comrades. At first, the musters were simply get-togethers, but as the word muster indicates, a roll call was eventually made a part of the event. For those Aggies who had fallen during the year, a friend or companion would answer here, indicating no Aggie is ever absent or forgotten by those who remain. On campus, the war effort was supported by students who raised the money to purchase a commission for Reveille in the Dogs for Defense operation called WAGS. No average rank was good enough for Reveille. She was a general. Reveille 1 did not see all her boys return home from World War II. She marched in her last formation in 1944 and was laid to rest with military honors at the north end of Kyle Field, where she could always see the scoreboard of her beloved fightin' Texas Aggie football team. Speaking of Kyle Field, the casual observer or visitor would assume that my life is like that of any other mascot. Show up at the football games or other sporting events and spend the rest of the time in a cage or pasture. Well, don't be fooled. When I say I am one of the Corps, I mean it. When I say I am watching over the students, I mean I am involved. I have a job I take seriously. I eat here, sleep here, go to class, review the troops, recruit, publicize, raise money, and keep to a strict military schedule. My day starts like this. Pretty early for some of these guys.
E2 forward!
But 9 years of marching to breakfast just gets my blood going. Listen, you can hear Reveille now. Dining hall. From the looks of some upperclassmen, sure serves great chow. These things down here. Lots of feet. Yeah, I'd like a nice bowl of water and my own aisle so I can keep an eye on everybody's manners. Hey, isn't that more than one helping? And, aren't we getting late for class? Well, I've still got to do my hair. There weren't so many buildings here for the other Reveilles. Not so many students either. But some things don't change at all. And that's Aggie friendliness. Aggie howdies and handshakes, introductions, and just acknowledging each other as part of the Aggie family. Some really good grass around here. Sort of make checking the grass and shrubs a personal project. After all, I'm closer to that subject than most of my humans. Let's see. Looks like a good turnout today. Is the prof here yet? Gotta get my morning pats. Sniff a few book bags. Some junk food in this one. Hey, somebody's not here. And there's Jason and Sarah, Harry, Ben, Candy. Uh-oh. 2 missing. Slept in again. Time to start the class. Think I'll just catch a few Z's when I find a good spot. Kind of want to make plans for this week's game. Now if I was coach, I think I'd look pretty good here in this chair. But, nobody would go for a dog coach. Besides, I have plenty to do. Just giving hugs to Aggie kids, signing paw prints and all, keeping the team fired up. I can't wait for halftime, but I'm sure glad I'm not in the middle. Let me see now. We have a couple of appointments before our next class. Got a Mother's Club meeting for new freshman moms. Teach them some stuff, bark for them, wag my tail, lick a few.
Always doing. To meet everybody. Yeah. What were you doing? Had enough time in Austin last year.
Just on the way over here, it was really neat. I only walked from the quad, but people will say, "Howdy, Rev, how's it going?" So it's a lot of fun to get to take her around. I went to Mother's Clubs. Anybody's Mother's Club I went to? All right. I put about 4,000 miles in my car this summer going around, and I can tell you that was the most fun I've ever had, driving 4,000 miles. And I would do it again. It was so much fun meeting all the moms, and there's always lots of food.
Good, let's yell a little. Get some spirit going. This isn't a tea party after all.
That means getting this position right here, okay? I'd like to congratulate all of you first-time humpers out there. Here we go. Oh! Hey! Hey!
So they started that, and they made it into a fish privilege to clean the graves. And last night I took the freshmen in my outfit to go to clean the graves because they have a review today. So,
Let's walk by those graves they were talking about. Step under the chain, son. I'm not about to jump over it. Here's Rev 1, 2, and 3. And here's Rev 4. Wow, just in time for the tour.
what happened is they, being the good eggs that they were, they didn't want to leave her there, so they brought her into the dorm room to let her sit for the next day. Well, when the bugler began to play Reveille the next morning, the dog went crazy, so they had to let her out. And she actually ran around and barked until the bugler quit playing Reveille, and that's how she got the name Reveille. Reveille 2, 3, 4, and 5 have all been collies, and that's Reveille 5 over there.
Class time again. Let's see, it's Tuesday, military science. I'll have plenty of nap time there. After all, I've been taking that course since I got here in 1984. I know it by heart. Wish I had something fun to do, like a nice trip, a football game. I can just remember that great time I had in Missouri. Started off with a swell plane ride. He always takes the window seat, then tries to make me look out. I'm not stupid. The aisle is closer to the ladies' room and the exit. Missouri was pretty nice, but I saw a few MU tigers at the airport. Got my dander up. Sent humans instead of a real tiger.
She knows enemies when she sees them, doesn't she?
Wonder if they have room service. Good place for a little, canine nap. Had a real nice room with a queen-size bed. Where are you guys going to sleep? Terrific game. We won. Band was real impressive. But it'll be nice to be back home. Oh, sleep in our own bed. Wow, busy morning. Lunchtime at Duncan. Hey, you didn't say you had a date? Well, guess that's your business. But you have me at yell practice, date or no. Just remember which one you kiss at the game. Lunch chow sure smells better than cereal and fruit. But I just want water to keep my youthful figure. Middle age is not going to ruin my looks. Let's see. This afternoon I do some recruiting, a photo session, review the School of Veterinary Medicine, and hey, you promised we could go shopping if we had time. Let's see, this is recruiting. Aren't those little humans the cutest? My job is to make sure they all go to A&M. Just look, little bitty girl yell leaders. I'll just help them out of the spirit part. Thanks for having me over. Remember, when you grow up and go to college, tell the registrar Reveille sent you. Maybe I'll be in for a commission. Looks like it's time to check out the vet school. Now you guys remember what questions to ask. somebody take notes, and I'll grade it later. I'm concentrating on his interpersonal skills. He doesn't say much, but I think he's a little nervous. Nice hands. Whoa, but not in my mouth. I told you all, no shots and no dentist.
Here you go, Rick.
And save the doggy treats for a pup. Supper's coming up, and I don't want to spoil my appetite. All Reveilles have been promoters, not for themselves, but for the school. The first Rev was even a movie star, and Rev 3 and 4 were on lots of TV. Rev 4 was the first professional model, earning enough money for her own little extras, a lifestyle commensurate with her lofty position. Humans actually started paying for her picture, and now it's sort of standard operating procedure. Our earnings help with our care, and for dogs we enjoy a kind of canine lifestyle of the famous, if not the rich. Now today's photo opportunity is nonprofit, just part of my job as the official mascot and highest ranking member of the Corps of Cadets. But my, it takes forever to get humans to be still. I've been on my feet all day. Guys, come on, line up. And don't smile. That's my job. Remember, if you can't see the camera, it can't see you. Wow, that's it. What a Kodak moment. Shopping, shopping. Ooh, love to go shopping. Check out this. Great stuff. Too many people, though. You just can't browse anymore. The media's taken away all my private life. Sure, lots of neat things in here, but my needs are simple. Water bowl, food bowl, brush, blanket. Poster of Rin Tin Tin. And please, no Garfield. You know, half a day's exercise is marching with E2 to eat. I eat once a day. These guys officially eat 3, but that's just for the record. And just look at what they eat at the table. I try to give them some exercise whenever I can. Okay, just one more appearance to make. These days, every group on campus wants to have their picture taken with me. Anybody else? If we're not taking any more pictures, then, oh, how about a drink? All right, we'll do just this one interview, and then I've got to rest up for midnight yell practice.
Good. I'm glad to be here today. We're supporting the IFC. Got a lot of good guys out here.
Midnight yell practice, one of my favorite events. Let's get the yells going. You can see we take athletics seriously at A&M. All competitive activities bring out the Aggie instinct not just to win, but to show opponents what being an Aggie really means in terms of unity, loyalty, and devotion to one another. Kyle Field has come to be more than a football stadium. It's rather like a symbol of the esprit de corps that was part of A&M tradition long before the first ball game was ever played. But it's a fact that football was the perfect forum for showing off the pride Aggies felt, and the game spawned a number of great traditions that are still enthusiastically observed today. For example, in 1922 at the Dixie Classic, the Aggies had been plagued with injuries, and head coach D.X. Bible was down to his last man. He looked up at the press box and motioned for E. King Gill, a sophomore, to come down to the field and suit up in case another player fell. As luck would have it, Gill would not have to play, but it was his willingness to help his team, his readiness to step in, that became known as the 12th man. During the games, Aggies stand, showing, like Gill did over 70 years ago, that they too will answer the call if the team needs them. At any game, you'll see an ordinary student wearing the number 12 on the sideline, ready to play, as white towels wave throughout the stadium, marking each and every Aggie as a 12th man. At this time, I need to say something about Reveille, too. I never knew her personally, but from the stories I've heard around the dorm and films I've seen, she was a feisty gal with a flair for the dramatic. She was the only one to have puppies, 10 to be exact, donated by an Aggie in 1951. She was really a good-looking Shetland Shepherd, and she not only seemed crazy about football, but she fell in love instantly with the Aggie band. Over the years, she became more and more protective of both her team and the band, and delighted fans by chasing everyone off the football field when the band stepped off at halftime. She received bad press when she was accused of biting a TCU coach when his team was ahead on the scoreboard. She also allegedly took a bite out of a ref whose calls she questioned. Rev 2 was getting up in years and just lost patience when she felt her team was being shortchanged. They say she never bothered anyone when the Aggies were ahead. So beside our traditional Aggie blanket, Reveille 2 started wearing a leash. Actually, I consider my leash as a memorial to her fiery spirit, and I wear it proudly. In 1963, every Southwest Conference mascot except Reveille were displaced from their homes. The Aggies came to the rescue, making sure they personally found each and every lost mascot and returned them to their owners. At the same time, we beefed up our own protective services, and they guard Rev with their lives, which is still an E2 practice today. Reveille 2 served 14 years, and though I understand, she never complained. E2 realized that in human years she was about 90 and certainly deserved a rest. With Rev 2's permission, they began interviewing new dogs and found one she seemed to approve of. The new pup was a registered collie, born in Alaska and donated by a family whose sons attended A&M. For the short time the dogs spent together, they worked hard to create a feeling of continuity for their owners. However, sadly enough for Reveille 3, her first official duty in 1966 was at the burial of Reveille 2 beside her predecessor. 6,000 Aggies attended and mourned at the graveside, while the puppy howled and yelped in sorrow. Reveille 3 would have lived much the same way Reveille 2 had, except for one thing: TV. Television had found its way into almost every family home by 1966, so the Aggies had more public exposure than ever before. Regardless of how the team played, the viewers saw and commented in letters about the Aggie Band, still the largest military marching band in the country, maybe the world, and about the fans, of which Reveille was the leader. Rev 1 had been a movie star, Rev 2 was a scrapper, but Rev 3 brought A&M into the PR era. She had a fun-loving personality, very political in nature, realizing that as her university changed from the all-male military school to the co-ed university, she would have to be a model of change herself. She began receiving letters from fans that read like this one from Connecticut.
Dear Reveille, my father was an Aggie. When I was a little girl, he told me all about you and the other Reveilles. Yesterday, we went to see you and the Aggies play Army at West Point. You are one of the most prettiest dogs I have ever seen. If you have a picture of yourself, could you please send it to me so I could hang it on my bulletin board? We will always cheer for you and the Aggies. Your friend Shannon Gleason. P.S. Giga Maggies.
Her handler answered this and many other letters just like it, which brings up another important point. Our handler. You see, as our job has become more important and more formalized, our handler's job has too. Applications are taken from E2 freshmen and their performance and dedication carefully evaluated. It's our policy, the dogs, to remain objective, even aloof, during the selection. It's not that we're uninterested, but the truth is that the applicants have already experienced a year at A&M. They're not just an average Joe college. They are Aggies, so any one of them would be great. But the real reason we keep our mouths shut is that we know humans generally disregard innate animal wisdom they call horse sense. If humans want what they call good common horse sense, the mascots at Tech and SMU would be talk show hosts. I really don't know about the other revs, but I've had 9 years myself as mascot, and I've never had a bad handler. I've had some that would have overslept had it not been for me, and I've had some that tried to have their girlfriends sit in my spot in the middle of the seat instead of by the window. I had one or two I had to take to the library when they wanted to do other things. But I never had a handler with tarnished brass who showed disrespect to upperclassmen or who didn't honor all the traditions. I'm as proud as any mother when I see my sophomore become a junior, and I have to say goodbye. I never let on, but I miss each and every one of them and try to listen and keep up with them after final review when they graduate and leave E2 forever.
I had a lot of fun with Rev. Became really attached to the dog because she was really a neat animal. And it was just a lot of fun going around different activities and different events and that type of thing. She definitely became a real close friend of mine. One of the things I always think about as far as dealing with Rev, and one of the things that's interesting about Rev was Rev had an underbite, or an overbite, I guess it was. And so because of that, she had trouble drinking out of a water bowl. Well, she learned at that time we had the water fountains in the hallway that had a button on them. And she learned that she could jump up on that water fountain and push it with her paw and drink out of the water fountain. So invariably, every time we had been outside, she'd come running up and jump on the water fountain. Now, I had to answer to some of the upperclassmen for that activity because they didn't particularly care to have dog slobber all over the water fountain. But
A good example of how my handler and E2 feel about me is my birthday party. Now, I don't know who came up with this idea. I don't think it was the Kennel Club, and no mature female, canine or human, talks about her age. But one way or another, E2 started having birthday parties. And like I said before, do it once and like it, and it becomes a tradition. Now, freshmen, except for my bath, aren't allowed to touch me or look directly at me. When they address me, it's Miss Reveille, ma'am. But they can come to my birthday party. I get cake, which I eat out of politeness, but otherwise I avoid human food. Reveille 3 was a light-hearted lady. She kept her handler guessing by faking a limp on any leg when she wanted attention. She loved playing Frisbee with the boys, and she was an automatic alarm clock. In class, she would sleep until 10 minutes to the hour and bark if the prof went into overtime. That might be how the tradition got started, that if Rev barks in class, the students get a walk. Kids are always begging me to let loose, but I can't be bribed. I did get a kick out of a professor this year who hadn't done his homework and tried to tell my handler that dogs weren't allowed in class. I may save my only bark this year for him. I need to say something right now about the Corps. Most of my duties at A&M are related to the years it was a military school. The Corps has seen many changes during its transition from a school that was all male and all military to the period of peace activism and anti-war sentiment to the modern era. The Corps, which was once the student body, is now a minority. But I think of the Corps as the keeper of the flame. The Corps gave birth to most of our traditions, and the Corps preserves them. No matter what changes are made, improvements only come when the foundation of greatness is carefully laid. The exact same thing is true of my job. It was the great Reveilles in the past that created the position, and it's my duty and the duty of all future Revs to preserve and improve on it. Reveille 3 served until 1975, when she passed away. Reveille 4 took over and held the post until she retired in 1984 at the age of 9. Of course, she was the only Rev I knew personally, and the only Rev that got to retire. She created a bank account as a model, and by posing for pictures, she took care of her expenses, as I do. She kept in touch until her death in 1989. That's just about everything I know, but I'm fixin' to tell you the rest of the story. I've been here since I was just a few weeks old. I've traveled thousands of miles, licked 100 kids, barked 1,000,000 barks. I've visited parents and clubs and schools to build the spirit. And in my heart, I know I've been one of the luckiest dogs in America. But I also know there's another pup out there with the right stuff that we need to give a chance. I intend to show her the ropes and teach her like I was taught. And when I'm done, when I've shown her the ropes, I'll tell her this is what I stand for, what I symbolize, and what my successor must learn and take pride in. Learn to cherish the moments as I have and appreciate the uniqueness of Aggieland that burns bright inside each and every Aggie. And I am not the soul, for that is the bond between all the men and women who have shared the Aggie experience. But perhaps, as I step out in formation, as I march in my final review, they will say Reveille is the heart of Aggieland, faithful and loyal and true. The day will come that Silver Taps is finally played for me. Have no regrets or sorrow that you've lost a Reveille. Be sure instead I did my job the best that I could do and trained another pup to be an Aggie tried and true. My name will sound at muster, but don't you shed a tear, for each and every Aggie there will stand and answer, here. For everyone the final call rings out from heaven's door, and I'll be proud to take my place beside the Aggie Corps.
Up about 5:50 on a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday to go on our outfit run. She goes with us. She loves the run. She barks a lot, and it's fun for her. And then I'll come back, and as I'm getting ready for class, she usually catches a few winks. But we leave for class at about 7:45 because I've got 8 o'clocks every day, and she goes with me to class. And I'm through with class at 10 o'clock, so she doesn't have to sit there too much, but usually I let her off the leash in class, and she'll lay down beside me or pretty close to me, but she'll wander around class for 5 or 10 minutes before it starts, just letting everybody pet her, and everybody calls her, and they'll come and pet her and stuff like that. And then during class, though, she always lays down. She doesn't distract, and then after class, we'll go. She goes with me to lunch, to Duncan. If I have a lunch date, you know, she'll still go with us. And then she goes to evening formation, which usually it's always at 6:30, and she goes to that formation with me, and then during call to quarters that we have every night, she usually just she'll stay in the bed, and I don't know what she's studying, but she's doing something.
Whenever I walked around, I always, you know, considered the fact that I felt like I was walking around with a lady, you know, right there by my side. I never really thought of her as a dog at all. The whole time I've been here, the whole time as a freshman, as a mascot corporal, she never seemed to be a dog to me. I tell people all the time, you know, the whole time I was mascot corporal, and even now, you spend more than 5 minutes with her. You spend just 5 minutes with her, and you'll know she's not just a dog. Just her attitude, the way she acts, the way she acts around people. You know, how friendly she is around people just gives her a different quality than any other dog I've ever been around.
To me, it's one of the neatest things and just one of the most incredible things that we get to do in the university, and we're truly excited about it and blessed that we get to do this kind of stuff. And as you know, it goes back to 1960 when A Quartermaster, the forerunner of E2, kind of got her from the band when they weren't treating her as well as A Quartermaster then thought she should be. And we took care of her, and we've taken care of her ever since then. And she's our baby, and we take care of her and protect her. And to us, it means so much. And we really take a lot of pride in it. The fact that she's the only mascot in the Southwest Conference that's never been stolen, and the fact that we take the time and the effort to go to all the football games, and that she goes to all the basketball games and volleyball games. And it's just, we're really fortunate to be able to do it, and it's something we really enjoy.
Then they selected me as the mascot corporal. I was really excited when I found out about it because it was a job that I really wanted. When I look back on my 4 years at A&M now, being a mascot corporal is definitely one of the high points. I had a lot of fun with Rev, became really attached to the dog because she was really a neat animal. And it was just a lot of fun going around different activities and different events and that type of thing. She definitely became a real close friend of mine.
I feed her once a day. I just fill up her bowl once a day, and I always fill it up at about 10:30, 11 p.m. because she only eats after we go to sleep. But I fill it up every night, and when I get up at 6, it's always empty. So she gets up and eats, and we bathe her about once a week. The freshmen get to do that. That's their privilege. That's the only association they have with her, and they bathe her in our showers, and then I'll blow dry her, and she's all poofy.
We'd go to class, and she always had to stop and meet people. Always had to stop and talk to just about anyone who wanted to stop and pet her. She loved to meet people. She loved to meet people all across the campus, no matter where we were or what we were doing. She loves people. She loves to meet all the students, and I really feel bad that not everyone that gets to go to school here ever gets a chance to meet her with as visible as she is. I remember the May that I got her, I guess that was May of '92, and we were on our way home, and we stopped into Rother's, and there's a guy working in there, and he was a senior, and he'd never seen Rev before in his life. It was the first time he'd ever really been that close to her, and it was really neat for him to get to meet her. And as much as she walks up and down this campus, it's a shame that a lot more people don't get to meet her and get to pet her at least once.
Like I said, I did develop a real close relationship with her. She was like a roommate because she was a roommate. There were times that the room got a little stuffy with 3 of us in there. But it was really a neat experience, especially when you went on like corps trips and out-of-town games. You went walking around, and everybody, it seemed like, could recognize Rev and knew who she was and the importance behind who she was.
One of the most interesting stories, I guess, was when we went up to Tulsa and unfortunately got outscored up there, and this was 2 years ago. We were staying in a hotel up there and went inside to see if they allowed pets, and unfortunately they didn't. So we went in and tried to make several entrances through back doors and got stopped by security guards and everything like that, and just kept making numerous attempts. And finally we decided we were going to put Rev in a big old parachute bag that we had some laundry in or something. So we did that, and myself and another guy, Woodrow Halstead, went ahead and carried her upstairs. And we had Mark Fetchy, one of the other seniors. He was kind of keeping guard as we did that. And we got in the elevator, and she was peeking her head out of the bag and everything like that, trying to find her way in. But eventually got her upstairs without any problems. And I found out later that one of the seniors from E2 years and years back had already knew that we were coming and staying in that hotel, and had already told them that we were coming and we're going to bring Rev in. Had already set everything up. So we were sneaking around for no reason.
Well, it's been a lot of fun at the away football games. I didn't know she hates the other mascots. She really does. When they come over there, this happened at Texas Tech. Their Yosemite Sam guy came over at the Rice game and the Missouri game and the Baylor game. When she saw their bear and tiger and everybody, she goes crazy. And probably some of the people seeing it at the Rice game on TV, when they showed the replay of the game, I mean, I'm holding the leash as tight as I can. I'm leaning back because Rev just is up on her hind feet, rearing at that owl, and everyone's yelling, "Let it go, let the leash go!" But you know, I don't know what would happen, but Rev doesn't like those other mascots at all. And I really know it's not just she's being a good mascot and barking at the other mascots. She really doesn't like them.
We played LSU that year in the fall of 1970 at LSU, and we went down for the football game, and some of us will remember that's the one that we won on the long pass with about 30 seconds left in the game. And of course A&M wasn't expected to win that game and all those type of things. Well, the stadium really went crazy when that happened, not only from the Aggies celebrating, but from the LSU fans being really upset about it. And I'll never forget, we started trying to get out of the stadium, and the LSU fans were just all around, and they were pushing and that type of thing. And I'll never forget, because about that time, one of the drum majors came up and he says, "You get in the middle of the band." So Rev, myself, and two of my buddies went right in the middle of the band, and we went walking out with the band, which was kind of a interesting experience because normally no one's inside the ranks, so it was really quite an experience.
The Master Corporal then, Dan Davenport, he took Rev to the Kickoff Classic, and after the game he decided that Rev needed to go see the Statue of Liberty, but they wouldn't let Rev on the subway with him. So he and his buddies went to the dime store and got a pair of dark sunglasses, and he put those on, and the subway operator let him on, and so Rev 5 went to see the Statue of Liberty.
The offhand, we've had she's judged the Mr. Aggie contest a couple years back, and we had.
I called him the day I found out I was going to get to take care of Rev and bring her home for the summer, and I called my parents early that morning, and I told them, and I didn't have much. My parents were at work, and they didn't have much time to talk to me, but they were real excited. And later that evening, when they got home from work, I gave them a call back, and I talked to my mom, and she said, "Yeah, your dad's already gone and picked up some brochures on home security, home alarm systems." So within a week of that day, my dad had installed a full home alarm system, you know, complete with for the windows, the doors. And he had mounted 2 more motion detector lights on the outside of the house. They were real paranoid about having Rev at home. Of course, I'm from Buda, Texas, and that's just outside of Austin, and real close to Austin.
It's fun to see the way the freshmen, they're real intimidated around her because they know that she's the highest ranking and they can't touch her, and their sophomores and other outfits have instilled the fear in them about how to treat her, and it's always it's kind of funny the reaction they have to her. It's good because they respect her a lot.
It was a weird feeling that came over me when we were standing at attention and we hear these taps clicking behind us, and we were told to turn around. Our seniors were standing there, and we whipped out to them. And after we whipped out to them, we went on to the football field in a single file line. We all whipped out to Miss Reveille, ma'am. And as I stood there on the 50-yard line of golf field, I felt like I was on top of the world, the proudest person in the entire world, and I was glad to be alive.
You know, when we think about Rev as far as being the mascot of the university, there's some continuity there and some consistency. It goes back to the same thing that we always talk about, I think, as far as, you know, one of the things that this university was founded on was its traditions and the importance of its traditions and history. And I think Rev is just a big part of that. You know, we talk about muster and silver taps and some of those different traditions, and I think Rev's right up there with those traditions because of, you know, it shows that although things may change, things stay the same also. And I think Rev signifies that in kind of a living format, if you want to, because here it is, we have this animal that exemplifies kind of what we're all about, you know, that, yeah, we may be out there, we may be rough and tough Aggies, you know, but at the same time, we've got these strong feelings for another animal, you know, or for an animal like Rev. So I think she's right up there with all those other traditions. I really do.
Major Greg Riles. Company E2 has cared for Reveille, the official university mascot, since 1960. The mascot company is honored to announce tonight the retirement of the current First Lady of Texas A&M, Reveille 5. Joining Company E2 and honoring Reveille are Dr. J. Malin Sutherland, Interim Vice President for Student Services, and Major General Thomas Darling, Commandant of Cadets. Reveille 5 was born on August 29, 1984 in Del Rio, Texas, and was donated by Mr. Ray Carroll. She was named First Lady of Texas A&M on December the 1st, 1984. Since that time, Miss Reveille, ma'am, has stood in support of her Aggies as they have won 107 men basketball games, including a Southwest Conference Tri-Championship in 1986 and a trip to the NCAA playoffs in 1987. She has witnessed 118 women's basketball victories, 174 volleyball victories, and saw the Aggies travel to the College World Series for the first time in over 20 years. When she retired from her post for this year, she would have seen the Aggies win 5 Southwest Conference football championships and would have celebrated New Year's in Dallas all 5 of those years. During her 9-year reign, Rev has attended classes, visited countless elementary schools, and taken thousands of photographs with her handler, always by her side. She will make her final appearance with her 11th mascot corporal, Cadet Jim Lively, from the class of '96. She has traveled over 20,000 miles from coast to coast as an ambassador of Aggie spirit. Whether it be at athletic events, university functions, or Aggie Moms meetings, she has symbolized the spirit of the 12th man and the pride that all Aggies have for Texas A&M. Ladies and gentlemen, the retiring First Lady of Texas A&M, Reveille 5. Co-chairman of the Reveille 6 Search Committee will now present Dr. Charles Hall, class of '54, a plaque in appreciation of his many years of dedicated service as Rev's personal veterinarian. Also being recognized as the breeder of Reveille 6, Mrs. Pat Marshall and her husband Dave Marshall from Plano. Now coming on to Kyle Field, accompanied by Cadet Sergeant Jeff Heath, co-chairman of the Reveille 6 Search Committee and former mascot corporal, is the new Aggie Mascot. She is a 10-week-old